The drivers then are lined up on the grid, ready for the Nations Cup race here for World Series 3 of the FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships. And it's a newcomer on pole position, Quinten Jehoul from Belgium. He lines up at the head of the field with Valerio Gallo, the points leader for company, alongside him. Second row of the grid is headed by Jose Serrano in P3. Then he has got Takuma Miyazono, the triple reigning champion, alongside him for company. Then it is Igor Fraga, the 2018 Nations Cup champion, in P5, with Andrew Lee from Australia for company. Next up on the grid, we have Nikita Moisov, the Czech driver who was oh so quick in the Olympic Virtual Series motorsport event earlier this year. Tomoki Yamanaka lines up P8 alongside him. Just inside the top 10, we have Nico Romero, the Spaniard. Not a bad performance then from him so far, with Adam Tapai completing our top 10. And just outside of that top 10 is Lucas Benelli, the second of our Brazilians on the grid here, with Kanata Kawakami from Japan for company. Then next up, it's Adriano Carrazza, who was oh so impressive, of course, in the World Tour in 2019, taking the fight to Ryota Kokubun, with Coque Lopez for company alongside him. Then the final of the grid is Ryota Kokubun, difficult qualifying for the Japanese driver, and completing the 16 runners is Angel Inestrosa, the Chilean, lines up at the back of the field. Strategy is going to be important in this one, Jimmy. Soft and medium tyres available for our drivers. What do you reckon?
You love me a tyre graphic, you can see down the bottom there. Soft, we expect to go a little bit shorter than the medium tyre. They'll be faster when they run it, and of course medium tyre will go a little bit longer, with our top 4 opting to start on the softer compound.
So then, tension is in the air. We're ready for the Nations Cup to get underway. Round 3 of the World Series here at the Willow Springs Raceway. Quinten Jehoul on pole position, Gallo alongside. Lights out and we go racing. Good start from Jehoul, not bad from Gallo away. Look at Serrano as they come down towards the first corner. Gallo's now side by side with Serrano for second position as they flick it left into the first turn. So it's Jehoul from Gallo, from Serrano, from Miyazono, from Fraga as they come through into the right-hander. Any moves being made into there? No, not quite for the time being, but Jehoul then gets a good start on the soft tyres. The top 4 leading the way from the medium shot, Fraga in 5th.
Yeah, everybody away well there. Standing start in this car is quite difficult, not really made for it, but these guys, of course, best in the world at GT, so we expect them to do any challenge. We throw it to Fraga there, a little bit wide actually, coming into the mid-sector. Did well not to lose a place there to leave behind. And of course, Fraga is the lead runner on that medium compound tyre, so the more time we can spend ahead of Lee, the better for his race. On board now of Jose Serrano, had a good weekend so far. Got a win last time out in the Manufacturer Series in the Porsche. Now on an Audi, completely different machine, completely different circuit as well, but still very quick right now on the back of Valerio Gallo as we come now to the long last corner, aptly named the final corner. Very difficult to get the line right around here. Very easy to get off the line and get onto the slippery stuff. And interesting there, Fraga has actually now lost the place to Lee. So Fraga has lost the place to Australian, back into 6th on the medium compound.
Yeah, certainly not able to get those medium tyres up to temperature by the looks of things in the operating window. So Carrazza's the first driver to blink then on the medium tyres. He wants to come in and get onto the soft compounds as soon as possible. That's a bit of an unusual strategy. I can't work that out at all. What on earth is Carrazza doing at this early stage?
I don't know. Frankly, that I'm not quite sure what that idea is, but if it works out, great, but I don't foresee it working out. But anyway, meanwhile, back to the front 4 as it is now, because Lee is not quite on that lead train. It's Jehoul, Gallo, Serrano and Miyazono, some massive names up there in the top 4 as well. Quinten Jehoul, of course, leading at the moment after his fantastic pole position lap time. But of course, bear in mind these top 5 drivers do have to pop in early onto the medium compound.
Let's have a look then at the race start. So away from the lights, Gallo just wheel spinning the second phase.
Yeah, I mean, easy to do there, but on the inside line, though, it doesn't matter too much, of course. Serrano does look around the outside, but Gallo's going to hit the inside line, takes the place back, and maintains second position. Yeah, Gallo just not getting those tyres gripped up as much as he wanted to. On board we ride with Serrano in 3rd position then, as they come on to the start of another lap. 25 laps here then in this race. It's going to be very interesting because, of course, strategy is going to come into play. It's a very short lap here and a very short straight as well. Only just over 750 metres long is the longest straight on this Willow Springs Big Willow circuit. So there's not really an opportunity to slipstream your way past another driver. You've got to sort of pressure them into a mistake in the turns by the looks of things. Yeah, you just about really get onto the rear quarter by the end of the straight. If you can get in there for a move there, great, but it's this middle sector here where you can actually start making some moves because the line it's quite a wide entry into the corner, so if you're feeling a little bit ambitious, you can just sort of chuck the car into the space that the car in front leaves and hope they open the door for you. Otherwise, it is a very difficult circuit to get through. Here are the point standings if the race ended at the moment. Of course, it'll be Gallo from Kokubun from Serrano. Kokubun, of course, doing well in both series for Mazda and in Nations Cup here, but as it stands, we'll be gaining no points. It's all the way down in the 14th position.
One of these drivers running nose to tail despite the difference in the tyre compounds here, just further back in the order. Here comes Nico Romero, then on the inside of Tomoki Yamanaka. Yamanaka runs it wide through the final corner. That's an open door for Nico Romero, and the Spaniard is through into P8. Those two have already had a bit of a coming together earlier on in the race. Romero getting a warning on that occasion for the contact. Now running nearly side by side as Yamanaka tries to retaliate down the start-finish straight into the left-hander. There's no opportunity presenting itself, and he's going to have to keep a watchful eye on his mirrors because Adam Tapai is up his inside into turn 3 then. So here comes Tapai going through, so Yamanaka's going backwards at the start of lap 4 then here, and now he's going to have to keep a watchful eye on Lucas Bonelli, who's ready to join the party.
Yeah, super easy to get off line around here. There is very much one fast line around here. Bonelli looks for the move there. There might have been a bit of contact there between Bonelli and Yamanaka because he found himself on the dirty line very quickly there. So Yamanaka now losing even more places. So not a great start for the Japanese driver, but of course there's a lot of time to make those places back. But as you can see around here, overtakes, they're pretty rare unless you get a bump.
Yeah, I think it's kind of akin to what I would call like a Moto3 style race, a motorcycle race. These guys all running so close to one another. It just takes one mistake to go out of sequence and you can lose 3, 4, 5 positions as a result of that.
Yeah, definitely. So you've got to be very careful when you do choose to go for the move. So lap 4 coming on to lap 5 now for our leaders. Here they are. Jehoul, Gallo, Serrano, Miyazono all on your shot as they come down the straight. Lee is back there as well, also on the soft compound tyre. Just not able to keep the pace of these top 4 at the moment. And right now they're all running nose to tail with not really many ways to get round. There's a great shot there. Just looking at the front right Michelin tyre of Jose Serrano to go around the long right-hander. You almost thought you'd find just Jehoul there, but Gallo there, of course, snuck in between because that's just how close these guys are right now. Literally at the moment, it's about 0.6 of a second to separate first to fourth.
It's so close between them. There is Andrew Lee. You can just see in the background in 5th position as they come over the crest of the hill. This is the corner that's so difficult to get right because the circuit really drops away from you, and there's so many different lines around this track that seem to work, some that don't seem to work as well. And you can see drivers just trying them out, seeing where the limits of the circuit are. And of course, unlike more modern circuit, if you look at other tracks up and down the globe now as well, there's no tarmac runoff here. You're straight off into the sand dune, so a mistake is very, very costly.
Yeah, it's also about rhythm around here. Like you can be fast through the first part of a sector by taking a different line, but then that'll compromise you for the last part of the sector. Like, for example, the last corner has a very, very late apex. You can choose to take an early one and get a really good run for the first part, but then you compromise yourself down the straight. So it's a little bit tricky that way. Gallo looks for a move, can't quite get it done. You can see what I mean by just not quite having the toe down the straight to get anything done. They have to have a really good run out of the last corner to get that move become a possibility. But right now, Jehoul doing all the things he needs to do to keep the Italian behind him. Reminder, of course, there is a mandatory pit stop in this race. Both every driver has to use 2 compounds of tyre, both the medium and soft, as you can see in the top right-hand corner there. And they'll have to make a stop for that at some point during the race. Whether they'll choose to try and run long on their soft tyre remains to be seen.
I was just about to talk about that because if you're the likes of Takuma Miyazono who are riding on board with, I know it's early doors in this race, but are you going to be thinking about strategy at this point? Are you going to be thinking, well, I can't get ahead of them at the moment, so maybe I can try and undercut them on track?
Possibly. You know, I mean, you're always thinking this as a driver when you're out there. You're always trying to find a way to outsmart your competition because at this point, you're also equal on driving skill. There has to be sort of an external factor that comes in there, and that'll be strategy in this case. And again, just look at the varying lines for the last corner. Miyazono takes a bit of a later apex there, but the exit speed isn't quite as quick as Serrano in front. But yeah, I mean, if I'm Miyazono, there's not really much to lose by taking an early pit stop because you aren't going to pass these guys on circuit unless there's some sort of instant up ahead, which that can happen as well. I mean, you see there on the inside of his right hand, there's a big old ramp, so if someone gets biffed out wide there, they might be they might catch some air.
Yeah, a bit of dirt tracking here perhaps in California. This circuit, of course, as Jimmy was mentioning in qualifying a few moments ago, it's quite an old track, and it's very characteristic of the racing which spawned it as well. Very fast, very flowing, not many big braking zones. In fact, no real big braking zones at all on this track, so there's no opportunities to sort of send it on the brakes. You've got to carry that rhythm, carry that momentum.
It's just because old brakes didn't work, basically. It's like, what do you say, like having a biscuit tin? Biscuit tin lids.
Milk bottle tops or biscuit barrels,
yeah, they weren't the best brakes back in the day. Of course, these modern brakes are insane. I had the opportunity recently to actually sit in a modern GT3 car and go around a lap. And the brakes in that thing, they'll take your neck off, they really will.
Especially yours.
Yeah, my small gamer neck.
You're a bona fide racing driver now, by the way. On board here we are with Nikita Moisov. He has got Igor Fraga, the 2018 champion, in front of him. Then out of the final turn we come now. A scratch of the nose there for Fraga as he's looking pretty calm at this stage. Of course, he's the lead medium shod runner. And speaking of medium shod runners, Lopez, Kokubun coming into the pit lane then at the start of lap number 8. So they're deciding to go and change over to the soft compound of time, making their mandatory pit stop earlier than everybody else. What do you think the thought process is behind that?
Try something different, really. I mean, you're so far down the order at this point that just following everybody else around isn't going to get you anywhere. You have to try something a little bit different. Maybe it isn't quite the conventional strategy, but Lopez and Kokubun opted to go very early into that soft compound of time. It'll work for them for a bit, but I have a sneaking suspicion that by the end of the race, those soft tyres are going to be well beyond their shelf life and just be sliding around and losing time.
Well, tyre consumption's only at 3 times, but the thing is, you're leaning on the sides of the tyre for so long because they're such long, fast corners here. I imagine the front tyre's going to be absolute toast by the end.
Look, we're doing 265 Ks into this left-hander. That front left tyre is getting absolute, just getting punished through here. So you can imagine how much wear is going through there as well. And of course, the T2 again is a very long right-hander, so the front left tyre around here just gets eaten. So I don't really foresee those soft tyres lasting that amount of time. Miyazono then on board with him again, the same position he was last time, not really able to do much here apart from just follow the cars in front. And that sometimes is just racing. You have to just make sure you're in a position to make the move when the opportunity presents itself. But sometimes being in that position just involves you just doing laps behind the car in front.
Benelli into the pit lane, then onto the soft compound tyre. He's quite far down the order, sitting outside of the top 10 at this particular point. The top 4 drivers still running bumper to spoiler at the moment. Through the right hand we go, a little bit wide there for Quinten Jehoul, but nothing to worry about at this stage. He's just got to keep it calm. I have to say, it's such a phenomenal display. As you mentioned in qualifying, Jimmy, his time was absolutely supreme, but just the maturity that he's demonstrating in his racecraft out on track is really beyond his years.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of pressure to undertake when you're a young lad. We keep saying that, but he's doing a good job. And I think that in this regard, we just treat him as a fellow racer because that's how well he's doing. Here's Gallo, of course, someone who's been a familiar name if you're into your Gran Turismo esports. He's been winning pretty much everything for the last year or so, and here again now looking quite fighty, and Quinten will be aware of that. See, a lot of these guys, they practice together online. They know each other very well. They're all part of quite a tight-knit community, but when it gets onto the circuit, that sort of goes away and it becomes just pure competition, which is why commentating on these races is so fascinating, because there's that sort of different level of again, there's friendship and then there's just pure competitiveness. So Gallo will know what Quinten Jehoul has done around here, Jehoul will know what Gallo has done around here in terms of lap time, and they'll both be looking at that as the race goes on.
And I'm quite glad as well that we don't have the hard tyre in this race, because it's a bit of a moot point really. We don't really see drivers using it for more than one lap if there's not a minimum time that they have to use those tyres for. And as such, I think it's going to provide us with closer racing, but also just a bit less in terms of, they stuck the hard tyre on, they're going to come back in after a lap or so. It makes it a bit sort of repetitive, whereas this could add a bit more variety into the mix.
Yeah, we'll have to ask our friends at Michelin to re-spice the hard tyre to get it up there. But yeah, the medium and soft tyre definitely have their place in this race as we come on to lap 11 now, getting towards the midway point, and this is where mistakes might start creeping in, especially because you get a little bit chill. So what's happened here? No, there's Coque Lopez deciding, oh, that's his pit stop. All right. Well, that's fair enough. I think his pit crew are like, what are you doing?
It wasn't intentional, though,
yeah,
was it?
I don't think he meant to, but that's the downside, I suppose, of this circuit. So if you get onto the Gravel exit, you sort of just go where the car goes. You can't really control it. The car goes, well, it's time for a pit stop, mate. And now up behind Lucas Benelli. So Kawakami and Inestrosa all come into the soft tyre now. Ninth and above have not yet stopped.
So yeah, the 4 drivers left on medium tyres: Fraga, Moisov, Romero and Adam Tapai. Let's see when they opt to come into the pit lane. Will they do it as a quartet, or will they opt to split their strategy? They're going to be working together to try and get as far forward as they can at this point, and then deciding to try and break away a little bit later on, or will they decide to work as individuals rather than as a team. Through the final corner we go then. Here is Nikita Moisov. We got us back to the battle. He's really close up the back of Igor Fraga over the last couple of laps or so. The gap was about half a second when we last looked at it, and now it's very much less than that, you can see, as we ride through that final corner now. Does anybody go into the pit lane here at the end of this lap? Fraga goes in, Moisov follows suit. I don't know if he was going to do that until he saw Fraga opting to dive in late in.
It's the old IndyCar / NASCAR tactic, isn't it? Sort of try and feign the pit stop, so the guy behind just did the same thing. But didn't work. Igor Fraga coming in onto the soft compound tyre, no fuel. Actually, he might need to splash of fuel. No, he doesn't. He's all right to the end, it seems there. So 60 litres to get to the end of the race, and here comes the second pack of cars, and Fraga's right out in the middle of them. And if you're, they cause a bit of a traffic jam there coming out the pit lane, and Fraga's just about as bunched up. But then he's like, nice, okay, thanks for that, Igor. I appreciate that, mate. I'm off. And Igor there asking for a little bit of a rear gunner for his fellow Brazilian.
On the inside there is Coque Lopez versus Nikita Moisov then going up the inside. So Moisov on the colder tyres has now lost the position to Igor Fraga effectively. Of course, Lopez pitting earlier on in that race with that very last minute pit stop that we saw just a few moments ago. So now Moisov is behind Lopez, and as such now behind Fraga, so it's not worked out at all for the Czech driver at this stage. Now the top four running down the start-finish straight, still running spoiler to bumper, or bumper to spoiler I should say rather, as they start lap 13 out of 25. All the drivers now are on the soft compound of tyre in this race. Only the top 5 have not made their mandatory pit stop here so far. And let's see how those soft tyres are going to be doing. Let's see whether we're going to get any pit stops towards the end of this lap. If you're Serrano and Miyazono, do you think you just follow suit, play it safe, and then just try and strike at the end of the race?
Maybe. I mean, but how do you strike so far? You've seen these guys just go together in the same order for the last 13 laps. So what can you do?
Big sense.
Yeah, big sense, but big sense usually end up in big crashes, especially around here at Willow Springs. And you know how hot these stewards are. Any sort of contact, they're going to give you a bit of a channing off for it. So yeah, it's risk versus reward. So often is in racing as we come now through the last part of the course. Interestingly, Jehoul quite quick through the last part of the sector there, and a little bit of a gap there between him and Valerio Gallo. I reckon that will come back on the straight, but great to see these drivers, of course, all from different countries, all different parts of the world, running so closely on circuit. And interestingly now, Miyazono opting to be the first person to come before he might do this, try and get the undercut, as it's known, and get out there in clear air. But if these guys respond quick enough, that might not work.
The thing is, as well, for Miyazono, it's going to work out quite nicely because Lee's coming to the pit lane here. So these two are going to be at the same distance as they were before the pit lane, but also, crucially, they're far enough ahead of the rest of the field who've already made their pit stops to not emerge in traffic. You can see that there is a rider on board with 7th place Lucas Benelli. He's the lead runner who made their pit stops in the early stages. Here comes Fraga, his compatriot, down the inside into the first corner. Fraga goes through into 7th place. Nicely done there, gets the move made. Opts to cut off the line, doesn't allow Benelli an opportunity. The 2018 Nations Cup champ is through into P7 with some nice clear track in front of him at last.
It was a very sure move, wasn't it? He was taking that position where Luke was going to give it to him or not. That's how you got to do it. Be nice and definitive with your moves. Don't allow any space for a comeback. Here is Serrano though on board still, so these three still out on the same tyres they started on. Miyazono and Lee behind, opting to come in a bit earlier. Will we see them all now peel to the left-hand side of the circuit into the pit lane? Now watch up ahead, who's in front? There's Jehoul, there's Gallo. They put all in then, all into the pit lane, all at the last possible moment, all on the same sort of similar level of fuel, and all onto the medium compound tyre.
They had to do that though, didn't they? If they'd stayed out on those tyres, they'd have been so much slower than the other two drivers who have made their pit stops so far, and they would have lost time. Let's see what is going to happen as they emerge back out on track then, on to the medium compound of tyre. Where do they emerge? It's very close indeed. Jehoul is in the lead from Gallo, from Serrano, from Miyazono then.
Exactly the same order, basically. So that worked out all right if Jehoul, Gallo and Serrano. Miyazono though, of course, his tyres are up at temperature. Now, of course, just like real life, these slicks do take a few corners to get up at temperature, and I've experienced what cold slicks are like. It's like ice for the first couple of laps compared to the grip we're used to. So these guys are going to be a little bit slower, but again, what's Miyazono going to do? He can't really find a way around it. It's very much one at a time for this first sector. So by the time you can get to a place where you can overtake around here, the tyres are up at temperature and that advantage is gone. I suppose the advantage for Jehoul and Gallo here at this point, and Serrano as well for that matter, who made their pit stops, is this circuit is pretty frenetic. There's a lot of fast corners, so it's easier to get heated to the tyres quicker, I suppose, rather than going out onto a more modern circuit where you've got a really long straight. Those tyres are going to be cooling down more than they would be when you're putting energy through them. Yeah, that and just the middle sector, as you say, is very tight, very twisty. There's only one line through it, so there's nothing people can really do to make the move, even though they do have the tyre advantage. So on to lap 15 there, as we come down the straight. There's Jehoul and Gallo there on your screen to the left. You can see the different driving styles, and Gallo a lot lower down in his seat there than Quinten Jehoul. There's not really a right answer to how you should sit in your seat or how you should drive. It's basically just what's comfortable for you. Although I'd say that my chiropractor might argue that when he sees me drive.
There is a right way to do strategy though, and I think Adriano Carranza has got that very wrong indeed. He's just come in for his second pit stop then, so opted to go for a 2-stop strategy when everybody else around him has done a 1-stopper. He's going to be on the soft tyres, they're going to be quicker, but he's 10 seconds off the back of the field. There's only 9 and a bit laps remaining, so I can't understand the thought process there for Adriano Carranza. It was worth a try to try something different, but I don't think that was it.
Maybe it's just pit crew appreciation day for Carranza. Come in, say hello. Good job, guys. Do it again. But yeah, that's objectively not it. So Carranza is probably going to be doomed to finish down in P16 and last from now, unless something absolutely ridiculous happens. Sometimes it does. You never know. We're on board now with Mizuno for this last one. You can hear the tyres there. Don't sound very happy, do they, going through that long right-hander?
If you made a noise like that, I'd send you to the doctors.
Oh, they turn me off when I do on the old headset. So, but here is Quinten Jehoul again. You see Gallo starting to get a little bit closer towards the end. So I think the Italian's trying to figure out how he can maybe cut down that last half a car length and just get onto the rear spoiler of Quinten. Because all I've said, all you've got to do is be somewhere near the car in front, and then they'll see you, and just them being near like that is enough to maybe force a mistake.
It's going to be so frustrating when you're just sat there on the rear wing of somebody for the entire race, knowing that you can get past them, but you just haven't had the opportunity to.
Patience is a virtue in that opportunity, in that scenario though, because sometimes you do things a bit rash, you get a bit frustrated, and that's when the mistakes and the contact happens. So it's all about keeping your mind in check in that scenario, as we see a snake of cars there, all the way down to P15. It's all the way down to the last place, but Carranza's somewhere in the background. So these are the guys that
San Diego, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a different state, bless him. But here's Yamanaka now. You can see in front of Ryota Kokubun, someone who is we expect to be a bit further, finished first in the showdown event, so really on a bit of a high, but then coming to this event, it's just not done too well at all. Here's Yamanaka there into the last right-hander, and a little bit of a biff there. Off goes Kokubun. See you later, mate. Into the corner pocket. Goodbye. And in the background as well. Yeah, in a Stroza. So it's all kicked off there in the midfield. But I was just saying, Yamanaka has got great respect for Kokubun there, but that looked like contact. And yeah, Carranza's not going to come last now.
I suppose that's something. Let's have a look and see what happened then. So here we are coming through in towards the middle sector of the lap. This is Moisov on the inside of Lucas Benelli. Bit of contact between those two coming into there. This is earlier on in the race, and we saw an overtake for position that was for P7 at that point. We didn't see what happened though with Ryota Kokubun, but goodness me, I mean, I don't know how far out of the circuit. He needed a ticket to get back in, he was so far out the track, didn't he?
You never want to laugh at someone's demise. That was a comical off. Like he just picked up speed and that's it done. But look at that. That's a real shame for Ryota though. Like again, to finish first in the showdown event, then to come here for round 3 of the World Series and just get sent is a real shame. But we'll see if the stewards think of that. It might have just been a mistake on his behalf. But meanwhile, the fight goes on at the front of the field. Top 5 drivers on that medium compound tyre. Again, Lee doing really well. He's still there in 5th place. This is not someone we're used to seeing in the top of the order here, but doing really well.
Yeah, no, fantastic job from Andrew Lee. Just want to go back to Ryota Kokubun a second.
Oh! There's a little bit of a slide there from Jehoul and Gallo. I'm not sure that was contact there. Jehoul getting sideways. I think he just picked up the grass on the entrance to the corner there. And Gallo sneaked through into the lead so quick that we didn't see it almost. I just think, I just caught the end of that he got onto the dust when braking and the car just snapped away from him. And then you can see that changes how the predicted points will be now, with Gallo having a 5-point lead over Kokubun in the standings if the race ended now.
And of course Kokubun's not going to score any points as a result of that contact and that trip into the scenery there. Let's see if we can piece together what happened. This is Kokubun versus Lopez. There's going to be somebody I think on the inside. We didn't see who it was. There was definitive contact. Was it Miyazono?
I think it was Yamanaka.
Oh, Yamanaka, sorry.
Something happened there. Here he is now, of course, all on his lonesome at the back of the field. But I'd be interested to see a replay of what happened with Jehoul and Gallo there. I think he just caught the grass on entrance. Easy to do there, but that just shows you one mistake after 19 laps of leading, and that's you down into P2 with seemingly no way to get back up into the lead.
Well, let's see what's going to happen then. Over the timing line we go once again. So 5 laps now remain of World Series 3, and Jehoul has got the bit between his teeth. Pulls alongside Valerio Gallo down the start-finish straight into the first corner. Gallo's got the inside line. He's got track position, uses all of the width as he's entitled to do so. Jehoul tries for the outside line. He's going to have to keep an eye on Jose Serrano, who's going to try and send it through up the inside here. So Jehoul is certainly looking like he wants to get himself back into the lead before too long, but the thing is, he's got to be so careful about when he decides to strike, because Serrano, Miyazono, they're ready there for the taking. Here's Fraga on the inside of Andrew Lee, so Fraga opting to start the race on that medium competitive tyre, now on the soft, has really paid dividends for him as he moves himself up inside the top 5 for the first time in a long time.
I just don't think it's going to be enough for Fraga to catch that first 4 drivers though, because whilst the tyre is quicker, it's just not quite quick enough to get there. His angle in the strokes. So what happened here? So there goes Kokubun off into the undergrowth, never to be seen ever again.
I think he did it on his own, you know. I don't think there was contact from what I can see from that camera angle. That's Inestrosa just going wide through there, carrying a bit too much corner speed.
Yeah, so Inestrosa there making the mistake on exit and just losing a couple places there. But oh, and Jehoul again. There you go, onto the grass again. So really on the ragged edge now, Jehoul. You have to think maybe he's burnt his tyres trying a bit hard. That allows Serrano just a little bit closer. But we're starting to see a few mistakes creeping in now from the Belgian driver. That's allowing Gallo a little bit of breathing room, and it's sort of giving a message to Jose Serrano saying, you know what, mate, the second place might be on if you fancy ascent.
Well, this is going to get very exciting, isn't it? 4 drivers running as close to one another as you could suggest. Throw a blanket over them, they're that close as they come down in towards this left-hander, and it's advantage Valerio Gallo, who I remind you leads the point standings at the moment. He was on 12 points going into this World Series 3 event, and he's going to be on 15 points, of course, with Kokubun failing to score crucially as well. Only 3 points on offer for the top 3 positions, and they are going to count hugely in terms of what it will mean for the later World Series events, and of course the World Finals as we get through into the latter part of the year in the FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships. Now, on board we ride here with Takuma Miyazono, the face of concentration from the reigning champion as he comes through the right-hander. Jose Serrano, though, is kind of picky in the middle at this point.
Yeah, at the moment, there's not much he can do apart from just hopefully there's no mistake up in front of him. Although I said Miyazono isn't quite close enough to pressure the Spaniard. We both know from the last race that Jose Serrano absorbs pressure like a sponge. He really just didn't feel anything in the manufacturing series, and here I think doing the same. There is Lee losing another place this time to Nikita Moisov. They're down to 7th place now. Looks like the early charge of Lee just wasn't quite enough to give him the gap, so now the soft runners coming back through. On that, Fraga has gained half a second on Miyazono in front of him on that last lap, but it's, again, unless there's some sort of big fight or shuffle at the front here, it's probably not going to be enough to get him within the first 5.
Oh, a bit of a slide there from Jehoul coming through the right-hander. Just loses a fraction of time now to Valerio Gallo. That gap sitting at just under half a second or so. Of course, going onto the straight, that gap will come down and then it will increase again in the latter part of the lap. So it's really interesting to see how this is all going to play out. It's a bit of a guessing game at this point as to who's going to end up where, because it's just one simple error, one simple mistake can cost you very, very dearly indeed. We're coming towards the business end of it now, though, and if drivers are going to be making their moves, they're going to have to think about it before too long, because the checkered flag will be out before they know it. That's
right, so lap 23 now of this 25-lap race being started. It's Valerio Gallo leading from Quinten Jehoul, who led the vast majority of this race, only to give it away with a tiny mistake at T1. Behind them, Jose Serrano, the winner from the manufacturing series earlier with Team Porsche, doing really well here, showing just how adaptable he is by jumping in a completely different car, a different circuit, and running at the sharp end. And behind him, Takuma Miyazono, of course, as you said, triple champ from last year, so pretty stacked first 4. And if there is a mistake, then guess what? 2018 champion and racing driver Igor Fraga just waiting in the wings behind. So I think the strength of field in these GT esports events is pretty nuts.
He's closed that gap down as Igor Fraga, now down to 3 seconds or so. So if these 4 do start squabbling with one another, it'll be a welcome sight for Fraga. I think it's going to be a bit too little too late unless there's a frenetic bit of contact between some of these competitors out on track, which we have seen. We saw that, of course, with Kokubun earlier on in the race. We saw it with Nico Romero, who was handed a penalty earlier on for colliding with another car as well. And let's hope that we don't see that, but if we do, we know that Fraga will be there to try and pick up the pieces. Of course, he'll be quicker than these 4 drivers, being on the softer compound of tyre. Now, Gallo goes defensive, Jehoul goes for the outside line in towards the first corner, but Gallo's got the overspeed, breaking that slipstream into the first turn. We're on the start of the penultimate lap. It's advantage Valerio Gallo at this stage.
Those little things that are like breaking the toe, it just forces Jehoul back into Serrano, because Jehoul didn't chase him across the circuit there, so for that little amount of time, he's not getting the toe, he's not getting the extra straight line speed advantages that gives. Whereas Serrano behind, he's playing the game, he's right on the toe, and it allows him to gain a little bit. So, Mirzona there just messing up his braking zone, so just like that, 4 become 3 as we come into the last couple of laps now. But see Gallo there trying to control the race from the lead. This is the sort of level of knowledge and competition that we expect from an Olympic Virtual Series champion.
So down the hill, in towards the final corner we go. It's advantage Valerio Gallo as we get ready to come into the final lap then. On board we are with Jose Serrano. Jehoul going for a wider line on the entry into that corner, trying to get the overspeed there, but he's going to lose a bit of time here because Serrano's right up his rear wing. As they come through that final series of corners, you can see Serrano there on the power, off the power, trying to get onto it now. Bit wide there for Jehoul. That's going to allow an opportunity here for Serrano as they come down the start-finish straight. Serrano's on the inside, Jehoul is on the outside. Jehoul's down to 3rd place as Serrano goes through into P2 at the start of the final lap then.
2 mistakes, 2 places lost by Quinten Jehoul. He's going to have a little look at Serrano, try the outside line here. That's not going to work, mate, I'm afraid. Camber's on the inside, you're just going to understeer as he does. And Quinten Jehoul must be so frustrated with himself, because that's 2 very minor mistakes, but that's cost him not only the lead, but now 2nd place as well.
Having a look up the inside into that left-hander, but I don't think he's going to be able to find an opportunity unless he does into this right-hander. Here comes Jehoul up the inside. Is there contact between himself and Serrano? A smidgen, I think, but Serrano holds firm, holds the line, holds 2nd position as they come through into the left-hander. So it's Valerio Gallo who's got this one sewn up as it stands now. All he needs to do is just drive his race to the final series of corners, and there's nothing that Serrano and Jehoul are going to be able to do. Serrano goes defensive here for 2nd position. Jehoul tries to go for the outside line here as well. Keep an eye out on Mirzona in the background as we come through into the final series of corners. Jehoul going for the outside line once again. Here comes Mirzona on the inside of Jehoul. Gallo's going to win the World Series here at the Big Willow Springs Raceway, and Serrano comes over the line in 2nd, Jehoul in 3rd, Mirzona in 4th. Well, a frantic end to that race, and a brilliant drive, a mature drive, a champion's drive from Valerio Gallo.